take to change a culture and reignite a fan base? Our own Larry Bazzani went to the campus of the University of San Francisco to get an answer to that very question. In this MBS exclusive, he talked with USF head basketball coach Kyle Smith. With 16 wins this season and counting, this is a program on the rise. It's a great conversation with one of the best up-and-coming coaches in the nation. We now go out to Larry in San Francisco and Coach Smith.
Thank you so much, Joe. And I finally get the chance to sit down with San Francisco head coach Kyle Smith. Kyle, this has been a couple of years in the making, obviously.
Yeah.
We've tried to make the schedules work, so I really want to thank you so much for your time this morning. America's sweetheart. That's what I am starting to hear out there about the resurrection of the San Francisco Dons.
That's funny. I'm glad I don't follow any of that stuff, but if that's the story, that's a nice story. And I think, since the beginning, we've been trying to kind of educate our guys on this idea that there's a great tradition here, and we coined the phrase "where tradition meets today." Our athletic director Scott Sidwell and Frank Alaco associated, and kind of just selling that thing, and that's a good thing. It's taken hold a little bit, and I think there's enough people that remember the glory of this program that we're starting to be competitive and contend for some things, and I think people are getting excited.
How does that resonate with recruits?
I think you become more popular. You start getting more emails from people, or there's calls that you guys that you were calling that you can tell just in their tone of voice that they're more interested. And we've got some really positive attention. I think some of it's obviously played well, but we've been through a very favorable part of our schedule. We've got tough we got a really tough month of February in that, and just trying to keep everyone at an even keel. But it's nice to get the good pub.
But having said that, you're on pace for fourth winning season in a row, fifth out of six. You're breathing life back into what was an iconic program that had fallen on hard times, as you alluded to. What has that been like in terms of getting increased profile, more recognition?
I'm not sure. I just have such a high esteem of the place. Just kind of growing up, my dad lived here, and kind of on the heels of what it was, and I was always kind of excited. And sometimes my excitement when I got the job was probably outpaced others. And like I'd been gone for 6 years in New York, and I was just surprised so many people were like, "You're leaving Columbia to go to USF?" I'm like, there were some other reasons why I did it, but I was like, "Of course, it's USF." And I love Columbia and Ivy League and all that, but it's like this is an iconic program. This is a good deal, and I think people, like I said, there's certain generations that are going to really understand what it's about and that, and it's just neat because I think everyone in the school gets behind it, administration, students, and it's been fun, and hopefully and that's usually the last part to come. So we just got to do our part and keep competing and getting better every day.
I want to go back to something that you touched on. Your career at one point, you were across the water here over at St. Mary's in Moraga, but so you were essentially Randy Bennett's right-hand man. You saw up close and personal what it takes to build a high-profile, successful program, particularly in the West Coast Conference, where it is a high-profile conference, but it is you have challenges built into that. What did you take from working with Randy Bennett and again being back in the WCC? You're going against Mark Few. What did you take from Coach Bennett, and what do you see in Coach Few that you want to bring here?
Well, I think probably with Randy, obviously, it's one of my closest friends and mentor, or like big brother to me. The thing I learned from him most is patience. And when we got the job, I was excited just because I had a chance to live in the Bay Area, but they were 2-27 the year before we got there. So your natural, I was youngish, 30, 31, 32, I think, is like, hey, we're going to, obviously they're not very good. There's going to be some guys we need to get rid of and move on. And about day 2, we saw it down, and Randy said, Kyle, I took the job, and my brother Craig said, we're not getting rid of anybody. And I said, I wish I would have known that before. I take a job. But I think that's everybody. And really, what we said, hey, we got to coach these guys. There's actually a rule. At the time, they put a rule you can only sign 5 guys in a year, no more than 8 over 2 years. So we're kind of handcuffed in the sense that like there wasn't going to be a lot of roster turnover, and it was a 2 and 27 program, and we were able to really connect with those guys. And I think WCC, what makes it unique is the values, whether it's Christian Brothers or the Jesuits and most of the Catholic schools, and there's a special relationship between coaches and players in this league. And that's what I learned mostly is like and Randy's. He's a coach. He's a coach's coach. His dad was a coach, junior college and high school coach. So we said we're just going to do it the only way we knew how, and that was to get guys that have great attitudes, great work ethic. It sounds simple, but literally that hasn't changed since I did that, and that's been able to create a culture without talking about culture. We just talk about having guys that appreciate the opportunity, appreciate the education. The one I've been banging the drum lately is that I love the collegiate model. I mean, with all the, I think Coach K talked about, things, this is not a big deal, the Fed stuff, and, we need to change and become with the times. And I'm like, nah, I kind of like it. I kind of like the idea that, there's only a handful of guys that are going to be really successful NBA players. We have 353 college programs. I said, I love the athletic, student-athlete model, and 18 to 22-year-olds. I think it's still an important time in these guys' lives to go from adolescence to young adults. So, and that's what Randy's been about, is developing people and character, and that's what I took from him. And I think Mark does the same. That's what people want to say. Like, he was an assistant in the league, I was assistant in the league, Randy's assistant in the league. I think that's a consistent thing. You think of programs, and just put out classy guys, and people are going to contribute to their communities.
He's Kyle Smith. I'm Larry Bassani. You're listening to Nuts and Bolts Sports. So walk me through 3 years ago now. This job opens up.
Yeah.
You're very well entrenched in New York, and you're at Columbia. You're building that program, and you're winning in the postseason. This job comes available, and the buzz starts around here, and I happen to have recognized. I said, wait a minute, I believe wasn't he was an assistant over in St. Mary's. Was there a sense of excitement about the opportunity to come back here, and just kind of walk me through?
It was a point in my life. I think it was about 46, something like that. And Columbia was really good to me and my family. And I felt like they were willing to commit. I could probably retire there. If I really wanted to get after it, I think it was a great, again, it appeals to me as far as high academics. And
sure.
I was trying to make up a nickname for myself, the Madman of Morningside Heights or something. That was quite sticking in New York. But our family, we have 3 boys, and my wife's from out west, and she went to St. Mary's, and we're at a little bit of a crossroads as far as we were either going to move to the suburbs in New York, and now it's going to be an hour commute. We just needed the space. We're living in Manhattan, so it's like, wow, if I'm going to be, and that's hard on any family. You're either gonna feel like, hey, I'm not going to be able to do the same job I can with cheat the kids in the basketball program, and I certainly don't want to cheat my family.
Sure. So
it was like, well, maybe this opportunity, and honestly, there was Santa Clara was open, Pacific was open, and I didn't know, but and honestly, Santa Clara had no interest, and Pacific had no interest, and I was like, and all these my brother-in-law and my father-in-law live in the same. I just had my wife she would ask me, she's like, is there Pacific, and I was like, I don't know what they're doing, and they rarely said, they're moving in a different direction. It's fine. I was like, you just don't know these opportunities are going to happen, and then it just kind of clicked when San Francisco reached out. And I wasn't gonna do anything that didn't feel comfortable with it, or I wasn't. And I think they really, I don't know, I'm sure they talked to a lot of guys, but I just felt like kind of when the job opened, they're really good to me the whole way. We're playing the postseason, and it was just it was a lot like Columbia. It's just closer to our families, and then for me, I do think just being out west and coaching out here for 17 years, I just had a little more familiarity. It's like, there's the recruit out here a lot of times. So I know the West Coast Conference, what I think will be successful.
What were your initial impressions of the university as a whole?
Didn't know, because I always thought when I was at St. Mary's or San Diego, we were always a little scared of because it's still somewhat, I mean, that's a long time ago, still like, not the recent history, like, well, boy, USF can really get that going. We don't, and you don't know, and like, honestly, this is so funny. I've never been on the campus. I've played here for 17 years and just pulled up to War Memorial, played and left, and even in town, I never really probed the campus, and so I didn't know what to expect. So I'm like, I always had it was like this basketball, and really when I got on campus, it's like it's a lot like St. Mary's, a lot like it's a WCC school, and the same thing like probably Paul. You'll walk across campus, run until he'll chat you up, and there's an intimacy with all these places, and I think that's why Mark Few's been successful. He's been on that campus as an assistant and understood the dynamics of the leadership with his presidents. The same thing when we were at St. Mary's with Randy, with Brother Ron. It was Brother Ron, they're on game. Brother Ron might be out in the quad chipping, wedges. So now Father Paul, we might be, be fundraising or something down at a nice restaurant, but it's not quite the same. It's a little more urban like Columbia, but it's just a tight knit community, and there's I don't know if people talk about USF, you stay forever.
Yeah.
And I like that. I think that was kind of my press conference. Every WCC school has these people that have given their lives, really, their professional lives, and there's more than that because none of them are getting rich as far as material wealth of working at a place like this, but there's so much to be the exchange with young people, and a person like Julie Kanji, who's been here for 30 years, and I love her. I initially connected with her because, and some people don't get her, like, no. You don't mess with Julie. She knows where everyone is, everything. If I need to get something done, there's no file to go find. It's like, Julie, and she'll go, well, I got to talk to such and such, and they'll know who to talk, and whatever. And that's the WCC school, and that's kind of and that's what makes them unique. And it's a small, private, liberal arts Jesuit. It's awesome.
It's interesting that you say that. I'm originally from Washington D.C. and I worked on the John Thompson show for quite a while, and he had very similar relationships within Georgetown as well. So there's a common theme there.
Yeah, I would think I feel like I've been on 3. I can handle any Catholic school. I think I got it. I got it down.
You got the Christian brothers, the Jesuits here. You mentioned Coach K a couple of seconds ago, and I wanted to circle back to that. As this program continues to rebuild the profile, there's a very good possibility you guys are going to be competing for similar players. How do you sell USF, number one, and number two, also the model has kind of changed. I like to think of USF as more of an academic institution. In the last 20 years or so, Duke, Georgetown, other schools, Gonzaga, have kind of gone to the one and done model in order to sustain recruiting. How does that work in today's business model of how college basketball is played at the Division I level?
I would say that my model is not that way. I don't think it'll ever be like the one and done. I don't unless the one and dones want to talk about great attitude, great work ethic, and we're going to class. You're not going to take. That's what disgusts me is the whole deal. The model is they take 2 classes in the fall and they drop their classes in the spring. You're ready for the NBA. I wouldn't be comfortable with that. So obviously, if they want to come to class and do the thing, and I'd be happy, joyful if we had a guy that was good enough to go to the NBA after his freshman year. But I do think our approach, and I think Duke's just an anomaly. It's an old. He's kind of, as he's matured and grown and won, he's kind of bought. Like I think he saw like what's going on in Kentucky and said, I want in on that. And
sure.
It's like so. I think I'd have to be the Olympic coach. So I don't think like, Duke's not the model, but obviously Gonzaga would be. And I think Gonzaga, they still just grown it. They still, their essence of who they are, and they got away from. I talked to Mark one time, like, there's a kid, Joey Harris, actually really close to him. I was trying to recruit him because my wife's from the same hometown as my wife, Lake Chelan, Washington, so I've known the kid since little. And the kid was kind of dying to go to Gonzaga. He was dying to go there, but he wouldn't say it. And that was the time Mark was kind of battling that, like, well, we want to elevate our pro, like we're a Sweet 16 team. And who knows, like we want to be in. And he's looking at probably Joey's like at that